morning. How are y'all?
Hey, how far up is the park?
Just around the bend and under the bridge. Welcome back for another episode of the Dirtbag Adventures. And as you've seen already, we've been paddling on the paddleboard for about the last hour and 15 minutes. It's pretty slow going on the paddleboard. It's definitely not as fast as a kayak, but I've had to make a few adjustments, and I was standing pretty far forward on the board. The farther I moved back, the faster it paddled, which is pretty obvious, but we still made it here in under the time that everybody was saying or recommending that it would take. So now we're just hanging out in the hammock. We've got a good view of the falls right over there. And here with a couple other people, they hiked up and are up on top of the waterfall. There's the paddleboard. Bucket setup is actually doing really well. So we left the waterfall, and now we're just paddling back out towards Old Rope Mill. And I may have screwed myself. I kind of need to be back by a certain time, not only to the dock, but to the house, which is an hour drive, because I do have to work tonight. But it was one of those situations where I tried to come out yesterday, drove all the way here on a day I didn't have to work. Got all the way down here yesterday morning and realized that I forgot a paddle. So then I drove all the way back home and just kind of made whatever of the rest of the day. Worked on some kayaks and stuff for a trip I have coming up next month. And then I knew today was going to be even nicer than yesterday. It's supposed to be like a little over 80 degrees today. So knowing that I had to work, I did sleep in a little this morning, and then or I stayed up later last night, slept in a little later than what I normally do this morning, and then threw the paddles in the car and came down. And so the reason why I say that, though, is I am paddling directly into a headwind at the moment. I'm hoping once I get around this point, it'll start being a tailwind and kind of help push me back up towards Old Rope Mill, but we'll just have to see. Interesting looking boat. I am getting back relatively close to the dock, but if I had to guess, this is probably 8 to 12 maybe 15-mile-per-hour wind sometimes, and I was hoping it would be blowing the opposite direction. It sort of was earlier on the way down, but it's just blowing right up this channel, so I'm essentially just paddling straight into a headwind, and it's very slow going on this paddleboard, which I knew getting into paddleboards that wind is a huge issue for these things, but it's definitely not like a kayak where you just cut through, which a kayak can be pretty tough too. Seem to gain a little more speed when I sit down, so I'm just hanging out on the bucket right now, trying to get back to the dock. I don't have much further. I just passed the dredge again, and earlier when I came through, he wasn't anchored or tied off or anything like that, but now he's anchored on all four corners of the boat. Well, all three corners. The front, no, looks like I don't think the front left corner is anchored, but the two corners that are closest to the bank are anchored right on the bank. Well, then the right rear corner is ran all the way across the river to a tree on the right side, which be river left actually. But I was paddling up like this on river left, and I could see it in the water. Had I not seen it, my fins would have caught, and at the time I was actually standing up, so it probably would have thrown me off the board. So I actually had to back paddle, kind of shimmy more over to the middle of the river here, or whatever you want to call it, and then paddle up right up the middle of the river creek, so that my fins on the bottom of the board wouldn't catch. And earlier today, as you've seen in the beginning of the video, there was a boat that came up here. It was Cherokee County Fire and Rescue jet boat, and I've seen one other pretty decent sized bass boat up here, so that could be detrimental if a boat came up through here with that wire across. So I don't know what they're doing, but they should probably come up with a better plan than that. So we finally made it back to Old Dirt Mill Park, and for whatever reason, I think I mentioned it earlier, my GPS was telling me that I'd paddled something like 25 miles in 18 minutes. I don't know, it was all messed up, so I reset it as soon as I got on the paddleboard to leave the falls, and it was an hour, let's see, an hour and 42 minutes, I believe is what it was. To paddle 1.8 miles back, but it was like a heavy headwind, and I had to sit down on the bucket a lot to paddle to really get any kind of forward momentum. And then once I got on up past the bridge, then it was pretty easy paddling after that. So another good day in the books. The paddleboard is doing great so far, no issues with it. It's working perfectly as I anticipated with the bucket. So thanks again for all the watchers, subscribers, and I will catch you guys on the next one.